It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. This show is going to be an interesting one. Here we are. We're halfway through the year, 4th of July weekend. So I've thought what I would do is I would talk about, where we've been, where we are right now, and where I think this market is going. Let's kind of do a status check, if you will, on the state of the market, because it's easy to get caught up in how crazy things are, how overheated and frothy this market is, especially if you're in it right now. My gosh, if you're a buyer right now and you're looking at buying a house and you are not prepared, you're kind of just looking, and if you see something you like, then yes, you'll likely make an offer. I mean, look, I completely understand the mentality. We as real estate agents are certainly not here to be pushy, but I will tell you that for the homes that are priced well, that are in good condition, that are marketed well, if you as a buyer are not prepared to make an offer, a good offer, quickly, this market's going to chew you up and spit you out. It's just competitive out there. The demand that we're seeing on real estate is pretty incredible. And so what I want to talk about is whether some of these trends that we've experienced and developed over the past, 12, 14, 15 months or so are going to last. What's going to change? Has the industry changed for good, for worse, or, is this just kind of a blip on the radar? I can tell you that we're setting records in this market right now. It's pretty incredible to watch. We've got record low inventory. Some markets in this country have literally negative months supply of inventory, which is crazy. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I've never seen or heard of that before. We as a market still are harboring around a month or so, a little more than a month, depending upon where you're looking and the price range you're looking within. But if you think about just what's happening nationally, I mean, we literally are at the highest median sales price in the history of tracking data. We have had the highest rate of appreciation in the United States, 24% year over year as of last month, May. That's the highest rate in the U.S. since we've been tracking the data in the 1960s. So you have all this just massive movement in the market, price gains, prices getting out of control in some areas with regard to what some of these buyers are paying. And it causes some folks to sit back and question whether or not this is, well, obviously it's reality because it's happening, but is it something that you should participate in? And so we're going to talk this hour about, where we've been, where we are right now, where I think we're going, share some stories with you along the way from things that we've experienced, and just help you better understand what's happening in this market, help identify some things that you can look out for when it comes time for you to hire an agent, whether you're buying a home or selling a home. I've got some great stories, but I also have some horror stories, one of which was very recent about contractors, which was on ABC News 4, that happened here locally in Somerville. I want to tell you that story. And just help shape your understanding of this market so that you can make informed decisions if you decide to get into this market right now. And if you'd like to have a conversation with me off air, you're thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate, maybe you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent. My gosh, we have had incredible growth, not just in this market, but nationally with regard to people that want to sell real estate. And I still believe it's one of the best jobs on planet Earth. You're fairly limitless in terms of what you can do and what you can achieve and accomplish. So long as you have a servant heart and integrity. I guess you don't need those things to sell real estate, because let's be honest, there are plenty of agents that don't. To be on my team, you certainly do. But we're going to talk about all those things over the course of the next hour. If you want to reach out to me, 843-400-8009 is my personal phone number. 843-400-8009. That's not a number for the studio. That's my number. You can call and chat with me about your interests, whether it be in buying, selling, investing, or selling real estate, helping people buy and sell real estate. Or you can just go online. You can check us out there, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And lastly, you can send me an email, brian@brianbeattyteam.com. Or you can just Google us. We're all over the place. All right, so let's, I remember this time last year, I'm having daily calls with my real estate team. We're having weekly presentations that I'm putting together, and I'm looking at the state of the market. We're literally watching inventory disappear in front of our eyes. We're watching people that, of course, have concerns about selling their home, whether it be health-related or market-related. I don't think the vast majority of America thought we would be in the position we're in right now in housing this time last year. I think that's a pretty safe thing to say. And I'm not usually the safe kind of guy, but this market is surprising. Surprising in many ways. Surprising in how people behave. Surprising in how real estate agents act. Surprised in how much people are willing to pay for properties, how much sellers are getting. I can't tell you the number of homes we have sold. I could if I looked it up, but I'm not going to do that right this second. But the number of people that are getting above asking price, that are getting really attractive terms on offers, and selling for just more than they thought they'd sell for, are really benefiting from the fact that it's an extreme seller's market. But then, of course, they've got to go and they've got to buy a house. And so then they have to go and they have to experience that side of the market too. From a seller's perspective, now that we've obviously identified the fact that there's extreme interest, not just in buying because interest rates are low, or buying because they feel prices are going to continue to go up, which I think for a while they will. But think about all the people that have identified Charleston as a place that they want to live. The number of people that I'm talking to from all parts of the country on a daily basis, it doesn't blow my mind anymore because it's expected, but not a ton of people that we're working with right now are moving from one location in Charleston to another location in Charleston. A lot of the people we're working with right now are moving to Charleston from the Northeast. We've had a bunch of folks move here from California. Seems to be a really attractive place. And then, of course, just a little bit sprinkled across the rest of the nation. A lot of folks from the Northeast, though. New Jersey, New York, Virginia, Maryland. Not so much the Midwest part of the country. We used to have a lot of people here from Ohio, and we probably still do, but we're not getting as many calls from folks from Ohio, which has kind of been an inside joke in Charleston here for a long time. But we've got all these folks that have just honed in on Charleston because of the fact that we've had this great reshuffling of people across the country over the past 12 to 15 months. What's basically happened, if you want to condense the story, is all these people that were likely going to buy over the course of the next few years saw other people doing it, saw interest rates get ridiculously low, and they said, you know what? Everybody else is doing it. Let's do it too. You basically had 3 or so years worth of buyers that stacked together in a 12 to 15 month period, and it sent our market off. It just went nuts. It poured gas on the fire. So that's why you've seen, 24% increase in appreciation. You've seen, median sales prices just shoot through the roof, not just nationally, but of course here in Charleston as well. And you as a buyer are trying to navigate all of this, trying to figure out how to make an offer that makes sense without feeling like I'm just being stupid. That's the tough part in this market, is how do I make an offer that's reasonable and competitive and not a dumb decision? And I think there are buyers, and I know this because I just talked to a guy this morning that had called me, and he said, "Hey, I was under contract. I had a buyer. This is the second time this has happened. They make offers sight unseen, as is. They tell me that they're good to go. They're pre-approved, and then they come up with some reason to try and back out of the deal or renegotiate the term after the fact." And obviously, he was not my client, so I can't consult him. But if that were the question that I were asked, in theory, obviously it depends on how much money is on the line here and how much time and energy you want to spend holding that buyer's feet to the fire to get them to perform contractually, as well as assessing things like your damages and looking to see whether or not you really have the ability to collect from them. But usually, in most instances, look, I don't want to make it sound like I'm not up for a fight. I always am willing to fight the good fight. But in real estate, sometimes it truly is easier to just take some money if the buyer's giving you some and run and sell it to somebody else. In the grand scheme of things, you'll probably make more money anyways. So, when we talk about this market right now, when we talk about the behaviors of buyers and sellers and agents, frankly, it has changed over the past 12 months. That's what I want to focus on next. I want to talk about buyer behavior, seller behavior, agent behavior, things that you need to know if you're going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. The way that agents are operating their business right now needs to be known. You need to ask the right questions to make sure that you're hiring the right one, because there's a lot of them out there now, a lot of real estate agents out there. You need to make sure that you're hiring the right one. So stick around. We'll talk about that in greater detail when I get back. The number, if you want to call me and ask me some questions, potentially hire me to help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate, or maybe you want to get into the business, my number is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA, the Big Talker. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I am your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again for joining us as we talk about issues in the housing market, help prepare you for the road ahead, whether it's buying, selling, investing in real estate. Maybe you want to join the business and you're curious about that. But this show is designed to help you become an informed consumer, to share my experiences with you as somebody that's been doing this for 16 years. I've been in the top 1% of agents since 2009 here locally, about over 1,000 transactions, about $1 billion in sales volume. So I share my experiences with you so that you guys know how to approach the process of buying, selling, and investing in real estate. And if you'd ever like to reach out to me, if you want to just chat, if you need a recommendation, if you have a question that you can't quite find the right answer to, or of course, maybe you're thinking about making a move, we'd love an opportunity to help. My number, my direct cell number is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or you can go online and look at our website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or you can send me an email, brian@brianbeattyteam.com. You can Google us. We've got podcasts on YouTube and iTunes and Google Play and Spotify. So anyways, we appreciate all the support. Thank you for that. Now, I want to get into what has changed with regard to both consumer behavior and agent behavior as a result of everything we've been through over the course of the past year or so with the pandemic. Now, there are a few things to mention first, I think, and the first is that one of, if not the biggest issue that you experience as consumers with people that are in real estate is communication and lack thereof. On almost every appointment that I've been on, where somebody had their home on the market and it did not sell, and then they hired us and we got the job done. Almost every single one of those, the biggest complaint was communication. Hey, we hired this agent. They told us great things about what they were going to do. We didn't really hear from them for, a month, sometimes 2 months at a time. We had to chase them down, figure out what was going on, get status updates, even do things like suggest that we adjust the price or ask, hey, what can be done differently? Because what we're doing isn't working. Which is funny because usually, an agent has one tool in their tool belt when it comes to marketing properties, and that is the price reduction hammer. They're going to hammer you with price reductions until you give in, or they get fired because they told you this number basically to get you to sign an agreement with them, get you excited about the process, put all this money in your account, when in reality, that number is just not going to work. And in some instances, it's not even close. But I get it. It's a market where prices are through the roof. You're not entirely sure what people are willing to pay. And in competitive situations, this is kind of on the buyer side of the equation. What you really want, I'll say it this way, what you really want as a seller is to position your home with the help of a real estate agent in a way that gets people to fight over it, so much so that one of the buyers says, here, check this out, beat that, other buyers. You want to tap into the emotion of negotiating in a multiple offer situation. If you're on the seller side or if you're an agent representing the seller, you want somebody to make a silly decision, an emotional decision. They love the house. They want the house. They're tired of looking around. They've been through this process 3 times before and lost out on other homes that they would have moved into that they would like to have called home. They're tired. They're frustrated. They're watching prices go up. They're watching the amenities that they can get in a home slowly start to kind of dwindle away as those prices go up. And so they just say, you know what? Here's this price. I know I'm going to pay a little bit more than I should, but whatever. At least we're going to make this stop. And if you find yourself in that position and, you don't have to move, let's just all take a step back for a second and breathe and ask whether or not now is truly the right time for you to be buying a house. Now, let me preface that by saying that I think we've got 2 things at play here. Number one, I do think prices are going to continue to go up because the reality is we are in a market with inventory shortage. We also have affordability issues, which is why interest rates are where they are right now. But at some point in time, I think sooner than we think, and sooner than maybe even the Fed thinks, those interest rates are going to start to creep up a little bit. Now, we know this. We know that when they tried, when was this? Close to 2 years ago? when they tried jacking up those interest rates, actually toward the tail end of 2019, it didn't work. It did not work. The market fought back, and then they came back down. So I think they've learned their lesson on that. But you cannot print this amount of money and not expect interest rates to rise at some point, probably pretty soon. And we've got a whole lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes. I'm going to try and not get too granular with all of that with you guys today. If you ever are curious about the state of the market and you've got some time to spend and you want to grab some lunch or coffee or a beer or just chat on the phone, I'm happy to tell you exactly what I think. But if you're not interested in that, you can always just go online, check out my website, listingsincharleston.com. I did a 4-part series on this. It's on my website under radio show. Just giving you an idea of what I think is going to happen here in the next 12 to 18 months. But this is really more just a show to talk about how have things changed? Are things here? Are they going to last? And how do you navigate this? How do you as a consumer sift through all of the craziness and make some sense out of it? So, when we talk about, going back to that conversation really quickly about buyers and sellers and how you want buyers to basically make an emotional decision about your house, you do that when you connect with the real estate agent that really understands how to market, how to negotiate, how to position you for success. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of agents out there that are good. There are plenty that are still trying to figure out, where they, what their value proposition is and, really how they're going to excel in this business. But at least for now, they can write a contract, they can open doors, show you homes. They just, they're a little green. And that's fine. Everybody's got to start somewhere. It just depends on what caliber agent you want. Everybody knows somebody that's in real estate. That's an objection that we hear, all the time, but we still get hired because people want to work with professionals that are passionate, that have integrity, that are results-based, that are trustworthy, that have a good household name, that have done a lot of transactions. And I'm proud of my team and for us to be able to say that we're one of those. So anyways, I think one thing that's really important to focus on when it comes to the behavior of agents is that and it's similar with businesses, right? In any other business, really, if your business is booming, if you're doing incredibly well, if you're, quote unquote, racking in the dough, that income, that revenue can hide a lot of flaws. When we get fat and happy, we tend to get a little lazy. Not all of us, but that is certainly a trend that applies not just to real estate, but to any industry, any business. If you've got a bunch of money coming in, your bills are getting paid, you're in growth mode, you can theoretically, quote unquote, afford to make mistakes or take your eyes off the ball and not manage your finances or your expectations because it's all good. We're making money. But what's interesting with real estate agents is that our consumers our clients expect a lot of us. And I'd say that it's pretty rare to find an agent that meets the expectations of their client. And I don't mean that to say that clients have unrealistic expectations of agents. What I'm here to say is that in a market like this, especially if somebody's representing a seller, they can stick a sign in the ground. They can throw it on the MLS, put some pretty pictures up, and sell it in a few days. But the question is that what you're getting, is that the best you can get? What are you paying for that service? When you compare that to what other people are doing and offering, is it the same? Is it different? Do you want to take the easy road and, give somebody a little bit of a discount and not have to do a little bit of work to prep the home for sale or declutter or so on and so forth? Or because this is likely one of, if not your biggest asset, do you want to maximize that profit put in a little bit more time and energy and effort and put more money in your pocket. It's totally up to you. We find that there are the majority of people want the best. They want the most money. Not everybody cares about selling a home in 2 days. If it takes 2 weeks, it's not a massive inconvenience. Try going back to, 10 years ago when, if you sold a home in 2 days or 2 weeks, you were a hero. You're on stage somewhere. But, with agents, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more because I need to take a quick break, but with agents, the laziness factor has been 10x'd in a market like this among some of them. Now, there are others out there that are beating the streets. They're shaking trees, looking for sellers. They're doing all the right things, and even after doing all the right things, it's still possible to come up short, to just not find opportunity for your buyers, or to find them at the same time that everybody else does. And then you're right back to the same position of just fighting with other buyers. And it can be a bit of a dirty game. So you got to know how to play the game a little bit, so long as you do it ethically, morally, professionally, legally, all those words. And so when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to talk more, too, about where I see things going and what trends I think are going to stick versus ones that are just going to kind of fall by the wayside here as life continues to return to normal. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 8 years I've been doing this program. Really appreciate you guys listening. The number, if you'd like to call me and chat with me, is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. We'll be right back.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I always like to take just a moment and say thank you to those of you that listen to this program and rely on the information within it. We've had some great calls over the past few weeks from folks that need our help, which isn't always, of course, just, hey, I need to buy or sell a home. It's, hey, who do you recommend for this? Or here's my situation. What's your take on it? What do you think I should do? We're just here to help. We love helping folks. We have passion for this profession. Moving is not easy. It is not stress-free. Little tip: if you ever have a real estate agent that says, "Hey, I can offer you a stress-free move," they haven't been in real estate very long, or they haven't sold very many homes. Because I'm sorry to say. But the reality is there's no such thing as a stress-free transaction. There is stress associated with moving, even if things go perfectly according to plan. You just can't help it. But what we can do is prepare. We can help you understand what happened, what's going to happen next, the impact on your decisions, and then how we can strategize and how we can consult you to get the best of the best, to win is what we like to say. We want you guys to win. And that's really what this show is all about, is positioning you to win with information and relevant experience as somebody that's, been in the top 1% of agents here since 2009. So, again, if I can help you in any way, 843-400-8009 is my cell, 843-400-8009, or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com, listingsincharleston.com, or send an email to brian@brianbeattyteam.com. So we're talking about behaviors, consumer behavior, agent behavior, what's going to last, what's changed as a result of COVID. And I was, not like this is uncommon for me, but I was tearing into real estate agents a little bit because, look, this is not an easy profession if you want big things out of it. sure, you can hang your license somewhere and you can go and do a few deals a year to people that you know, and, make a little extra money, but that's not a career. The vast majority of real estate agents might as well go and get a 9-to-5 job because they make more money. I mean, that is the truth. Man, I don't have the average number in front of me, but that it's somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 is the average amount of money a real estate agent makes in America. Obviously, it's our goal to be well above average. But what's been interesting with regard to agent behavior since COVID is that we're always, and I think this is partly a good thing. We're always looking for ways to automate. We're always looking for ways to create efficiency in our business and in our lives. Some of the ideas that have been put into action are great. Things like having a third-party company that an agent can go to and coordinate all of the homes they want to see on a particular day without having to have the listing agent be the middleman. See, what people do now is they just go online, real estate agents, they just go online and they say, I want to see these homes on these dates, and then a service will coordinate everything and get back to the appropriate parties to say, hey, yes, you're approved to see this. No, you're not approved to see that. Here are the showing instructions, blah, blah, blah. It's great. We've always had a focus on representing sellers on our team to the point where, at one point in time, I think we had 60-something on the market, and we had about 100 properties that were in some way, shape, or form being marketed. Obviously, with COVID, it's tough to maintain that kind of listing inventory right now. But that would literally be like 7% of the total market, considering we have about 1,400 homes available for sale at any given point in time. But I remember, having all those listings and just feeling like I had to have my phone surgically attached to my face. God forbid I miss a phone call and it's a showing on one of my listings. Well, now we've got this third-party service, and that's great. But the problem is the agent showing the property and the agent that represents the property are no longer talking to one another. There is no pre-qualification. And for a lot of people, that's a big problem. I think I may have talked about this last weekend. But, if you just kind of envision, the typical scenario where you've got to get kids in the car. I mean, it's summer, right? So you got to get the kids in the car. You got to get the dog in the car. You have to clean up the whole house. You have to disappear for an hour. And then when you come back, you got to hope that, they're interested, only to get feedback that says, yeah, they thought it was a nice house. They were visiting some friends. They're from Florida. They're thinking of retiring next year. They'd still have to put their home on the market. It's just like you just get back home and you just feel totally deflated. You're like, what a waste of time. You get angry after a while, rightfully so. So obviously, from our perspective, one of the things we do on my team is just make sure that the people that are walking through homes are ready, willing, and able. If they walk through the home and they like what they see, they are in a position to make an offer. And then we're also talking about the house. I want to tee up this house and this agent to have a really good showing. But it's incredible the amount of agents that are not researched. They do not take the time to investigate the home before they show it. They really are kind of like a glorified door opener. They have the realtor card that lets them in, but they didn't do any research before they got there. As a listing agent, that can be pretty irritating. As a seller, that's extremely irritating because you want them doing their job. But again, going back to the change in behavior among agents, I'd say that there are plenty of agents out there that do a great job. Let me say that. I'm not trying to beat agents down right now, but I do think that there are significant areas for improvement among real estate agents in our industry. And I'll tell you one thing that I think is really interesting is that if you were to follow around a real estate agent, a day in the life of a real estate agent, my guess is that for the vast majority of agents out there, they wake up with intentions of having a productive day. They open up their email, get lost in email for a while. Then they're exhausted. So then they go on social media and they flip through Facebook and they comment on a bunch of stuff that doesn't get them anywhere in life. And then by then it's 11 o'clock. And so maybe they call a few people that they need to call, but now it's time for lunch. So we got to get that figured out. And then maybe they run out and they show a property in the afternoon and that's about it. I mean, the point I'm getting at here is, and I bet you there's an agent listening right now that's just like, oh, you just described my day to a T. There are a lot of agents out there that are just not working enough. Now, the nice thing about real estate is you get to set your own schedule. We get into real estate for freedom of schedule and limitless income. The reality is, though, a lot of agents just aren't working a lot. They're off doing other things. They're just choosing not to actively work. And whether you're in real estate or any other sales-based business, I always tell my agents, even to this day, look, we are in two businesses. We are in the business of helping people buy and sell real estate, and we are in the business of finding people to help buy and sell real estate. And so the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because as a buyer, look, it's tough, really tough in this market. What you want is somebody that's connected, somebody that is putting in that work, that effort, that time, that investment into their business to find off-market properties, to find properties for you that are not publicly available. And so I want to chat more about that and that process. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I'll explain that in greater detail. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I want to finish this thought really quickly on just how the behavior of agents have changed over the course of the past year or so as we've been dealing with COVID, the pandemic, and just really a massive surge of interest and activity in our particular industry. And how agents are now behaving and how that impacts you and your ability to win when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And before we took a break, I was mentioning to you that there are a lot of agents out there that are basically just doing the bare minimum. And let's be honest, that's the truth. There are other agents out there that are doing everything they can, everything they know they can do to try and find opportunity for folks. We have access to some really incredible technology. We are a very tech-forward real estate company at the Brian Beatty team, but we never take for granted the value associated with picking up the phone and having a conversation with somebody. And so what I left you guys with was the idea that the agents that are finding properties for buyers that are not on the market right now are the ones that are really offering a huge amount of value to their clients. And we've got big lists of properties that will be coming on the market, whether they're listed with us or not. It's still too early in the game for us to be able to confidently say, hey, all these people are going to hire us. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have lists of people that have expressed intent that will sell. We have an idea of how much they're going to be selling their home for. And because we have put a lot of time and energy and attention on this, not just in building this database, but in being able to have the functionality to sift through it to say, hey, I just talked to this buyer. They're going to buy in the next 3-4 months. How many sellers have we talked to in that same general area that might be interested in selling in that same amount of time? And then can we play the role of matchmaker? Can we line these two people up if it's a win-win-win situation? The problem is that the time and the energy and the cost associated with building out a list like that is not easy. It is not cheap. And every day, we come to the office, we're upbeat, we're positive, we're energetic, we're all in, we're courageous. We've got all those great core values that our team embodies. And we get on the phone and we build relationships with people. And of course, that comes with a bunch of no's and a bunch of hang-ups and a bunch of name calling and a bunch of people that are just very disgruntled at our phone call. So we get beaten up on a daily basis, but you know what? We take it. We're used to it. It's okay. Our armor is thick. And you know why? It's because when we find that seller that says, yeah, I would entertain selling my house if you brought me a buyer, and then we can go to a buyer and say, hey, we found them. We found somebody that might be interested, and it works. It's all worth it. It's a job well done. And you know what? We didn't rely on, a listing from another agent. We didn't rely on just the MLS to auto send a buyer a property for a buyer to say, hey, I want to buy this one. And you say, great, I'll open the door, and if you like it, I'll write a contract. No, we put in a ton of time and energy to make that happen. And so, and the reality is, and I'm just being blunt here, we don't share that list with people that aren't our clients. It takes too much time, too much energy, too much effort for us to build that out and have that as a very attractive piece to working with our real estate team. Not just what we have, but our ability to go and get more by sifting through tax data and public records and hiring companies that look at online behaviors and proactively target people they believe are getting ready to make a move. I mean, it's pretty insane what we have access to and just what technology has now done to our ability to target people specifically. And a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are kind of freaked out by that. But you know what? It happens every day. We might as well be using it as a real estate tool to bring you opportunity that other agents haven't figured out how to do yet, or just don't want to take the time to do, or just don't have, frankly, the resources to do. And so what's been interesting is this change in consumer behavior and agent behavior, with the frenziness of, which is the craziness of everything. It's important to take a step back and just talk through the issues. Let's make sure that we are prepared. Let's make sure that you fully understand this process. Because from a real estate agent's perspective, if they're not, if they don't have some emotional intelligence, if they are not aware of their actions and how they impact others, then you are going to find an agent that is just on go, go, go. They are fueled by coffee. And you are going to feel like you just got chewed up and spit out because of how fast-paced things are. It just makes sense, in my opinion, to slow things down a little bit, have a conversation, make sure you understand what's about to happen should you put your home on the market, or should we decide to go and start looking at properties to purchase. Or should you decide to hire a contractor to renovate or fix up your property. My God, there was a story on ABC that John Quincy told me about. Happened in his neighborhood of this lady that fired a contractor because the contractor was hired to do some touch-up painting and a few repairs around the house. About a month later, she's getting reports because she's already moved that, they're swimming in the pool. Their kids are swimming in the pool. They aren't really working. So she fired him over the phone. And then they trashed the place. They poured paint everywhere. They poured a bunch of trash in the garage. Just incredible how that all played out. And so, look, contractors are busy. They don't like saying no to people for fear of losing out on future business from you, especially from real estate agents. But there are still some great contractors out there that are offering jobs at attractive prices, and that are going to do a good job for you. And I know this because they work for us almost every day on behalf of our clients. So if you would like some information on how to hire a contractor, or you need some recommendations, do me a favor. Text the word contractor to 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. And we will provide you with our list of vendors that we go to whenever we need something fixed or repaired or renovated. Text the word contractor to 843-400-8009, and I'll send that over. We're out of time. If you guys would like to reach out to me, 843-400-8009 or listingsincharleston.com. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend and happy 4th of July.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com.